A new year brings a new frustration for every American worker. Well, most of them. Smaller paychecks. We told you last week how Washington did nothing to stop a 2% hike in your Social Security tax. And now liberals and conservatives alike are taking their frustrations to the web in a fight that's quickly gone viral. One post getting some attention comes from the left-leaning website Democratic Underground and reads, quote, "What happened that my Social Security withholdings in my paycheck just went up? My paycheck just went down by an amount that I don't feel comfortable with. I guarantee this decrease is going to hurt me more than the increase in income taxes will hurt those making over 400 grand. What happened?" Joining me now, Leslie Marshall is a syndicated radio talk show host with the LeslieMarshallShow.com and a Fox News contributor, and Chris Plante, who's also a radio talk show host on the Chris Plante Show. All right, welcome back, guys. So this anecdotally is being talked about by everybody here. I mean, like, you know, everywhere I go, people are discussing the fact that their paychecks are a lot smaller because I think there is some surprise. They thought only the rich were going to take the hit, but it turns out 77% of Americans got a tax hike on January 1st that the president and Congress pushed through. Chris, your thoughts?
It's almost hilarious, isn't it? I mean, if it weren't so pathetic, they were suckered. They were lied to. They weren't told the truth by politicians in Washington and by their friends in the news media. And, you know, I'm sorry, people voted for big government, and it's got to be paid for. This payroll tax holiday, as it was called, a euphemism, was just a shell game that was designed to play games in the first place when it was implemented in 2009. And if you want big government, if you want Social Security, you've got to pay for it. And guess what? While these people who are expressing their outrage on these liberal websites were convinced that somebody else was going to pay the bill, which is why they voted for Barack Obama in the first place, we're all going to have to pay for it. Government is expensive. You're going to pay for it. I'm going to pay for it. Welcome to the party.
Here's just one example. This is from Democrat Underground, Leslie. Somebody writes, "My paycheck just went down. So did my wife's. This hurts us. But everybody says it's a good thing, so I guess we just suck it up and get used to it. I call it a tax increase on the middle class. I wonder what they call it." I mean, it is a tax increase on the middle class. There's really no way around that, is there?
There's no way around the fact that everyone in America is going to be paying more. But we have to look at why this happened. When the president first came to the table with Republicans, one of the first things, I think it was the first thing that he said is, we need to extend the payroll tax cut. Republicans said no. Democrats refashioned that and said, okay, let's have a make work tax for the benefit of the American people. Republicans said no to that. So I find it ironic, especially when there is a Republican majority in the House, that the Democrats and the president are being blamed for something that the Republicans, quite frankly, brought upon themselves. And Chris, you guys on the right should be happy there's more money going to Social Security, because you always said there wasn't enough money for it to last and to fund for generations.
But before I give the floor back to you, Chris, Leslie, who signed the law?
The president signed the law, but we always knew.
Both parties are to blame.
We always knew a negotiation was going to be a compromise.
Come on.
And the president wasn't going to get 100% of what he wanted.
Stop that. Both parties are to blame. The Republicans wanted that tax to go up, and President Obama signed it. They can't be blaming the other. The deal was done. They both did it. They both raised taxes on the rich, and they both raised taxes on people, 77% of the working population. That's the fact. Now, you could argue about whether it's right, because as Leslie points out, the Republicans had argued, we need that money. This funds Social Security. Social Security, we just did a segment, is running out of money in 20 years, so we need the money. But the point is, people are upset, and they didn't see it coming, and now they feel like it's going to be tax that isn't necessarily disclosed and explained to them before the fact.
Well, Leslie just said it. You know, we're going to have to raise taxes. And Nancy Pelosi is coming back and saying we're going to have to raise taxes. Their big plan after raising taxes on the rich is to raise taxes again. Yeah, you know, we've got to pay, Leslie, for Social Security some way or another. And the people, you know, this is, look, Social Security has always been a sort of a shell game also. And it's a redistribution scheme where money is transferred from the young to the old. You know, this is reality. And pretending that we can perpetuate these holidays in perpetuity and nobody will ever have to pay for it is delusional. I mean, is everybody in this town on LSD or what? The government consumes money. It has to get that money from someplace. And the idea that 2% of the population is going to have their taxes increased by 4.5% and that's going to solve all our problems is a joke. It's an obscene joke.
That's
it's
the thing,
a lie.
Leslie, is that the president, when he gave the folks this tax holiday. You know, by its definition, the holiday is only temporary. And so he sort of said this is going to be temporary to try to stimulate the economy and that it's going to go away. And now it's gone away, but it's sort of like people don't really believe. You know, they get it, they enjoy it, and then they want to keep enjoying it. But that's not the way it works.
No, it isn't. And although I'm not on LSD, I will agree with Chris about something, which is that, you know, if we want things from our government, we have to pay for it. And you know what, Chris? You and the Republicans, especially in the House and the Senate, can, you know, give up their Social Security. You know what I'm saying? Redistribute that somewhere else. That's an option, and I've never seen anybody take that. Never.
That's really sort of absurd. You know, listen, the government has to be paid for.
No, if you don't want government programs, don't take the benefit from a government program. Fight for that. Fight for choice in that.
Republicans have been arguing that we need to pay for the government we have. Now, if that seems irrational, then we're operating on different planes, because I in my life, and I'm sure you in your life, don't spend $320,000 a year if you take in $200,000 a year. The government takes in $2 trillion, we spend $3.3 trillion. That can't go on, okay? And pretending that we don't have to pay for it and we're going to give this back to you in your paycheck every month and that's going to fuel the economy has been a lie all along. And I'm glad that people who frequent liberal websites are waking up to the facts of the world that we live in.
Well, I'll leave you with this. Speaking of the liberal website, here's full screen number 5, control room. This is from Alex, who just writes, Obama, I did not vote for you so you can take away a lot of money from my checks. Very simple and to the point. That's not what Alex wanted to see happen. But I got to go, panel. We're going to talk with Britt Hume coming up in just a bit about the Nancy Pelosi promise on raising taxes even more. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Chris.
You bet. Thanks.
Thank you, Megyn.